What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bilbron Bafflestone. So, we're trying something new today. This will be the first episode of my storytelling series, where I just tell stories about my Dungeons & Dragons experiences. So let me know what you think in the comments below. And today I wanted to talk about the Nemesis, because I have been very pleased of late in my own campaign featuring Bilbron Bafflestone, because it seems that I have developed a nemesis, and it's a pretty cool feeling to have like this personal grudge and history with a really badass dude. And this is something that I haven't actually felt too often in Dungeons & Dragons. Usually you're going through adventures, through modules, through discrete adventure sessions or segments. And, you just kind of mow down everything in your path, and, you remember them, but it doesn't have that personal involvement as a nemesis who just plagues you from, session to session, campaign to campaign, or adventure to adventure. And I have experienced this once before. 25 or 30 years ago, I was playing a 2nd edition campaign in Dark Sun, and if you're not familiar with Dark Sun, it's perhaps the most powerful setting that Dungeons & Dragons has ever produced. The whole idea was that everyone's evil, everyone has psionic wild talents, it's super dangerous, only the most powerful survive, and so everything was just super powerful. In particular, psionics. The psionics of Dark Sun 2nd edition were just redonkulous. The most amazing power that I had was called subjective reality, which basically allowed you to create a new reality to live in that excluded certain things. So for example, if I encountered, say, a 20th level archmage, I could be like, oh no, I guess I must craft a subjective reality in which wizard magic doesn't exist. And now you're a normal person to me, and I have psionics, so that's not ending up well for you, right? So really super powerful campaign setting. And when you give a player like myself that kind of power, things can get a little crazy. I mean, I could kill things in 10 different ways. I had 100 different layers of defenses. I was basically invincible in any kind of direct confrontation, and I loved it. I loved that stuff. And we were evil, and I was like, we were fighting up against priest kings, and it's pretty significant enemies and stuff, so a lot of fun. But my DM was a pretty good optimizer as well, and he created an NPC that plagued me. He created Ghost, freaking Ghost. Okay, so this guy was an assassin, and he was seeking a bounty on my head, and he understood the power of attrition, because yeah, I was invincible in any kind of direct confrontation, but all of my powers depended on having available spell slots and having available enough psionic strength points. And so my DM understood the power of attrition, and so this ghost guy just kept showing up every time I started getting a little worn down, started going through a few battles and getting depleted on, spells and psionics. Ghost would show up and just make his play, and I thwarted him over and over, but it was just getting so hard because he was adapting, and ultimately he got me. He got me once, and of course, I had resurrection protocols in place. So I did come back, but he got me, and that was a hugely memorable moment. And my whole, I remember that night, man, the whole table was stunned. Everybody was stunned that the Invincible, that was called Scourge the Undying. In fact, I love this character so much. I drew pictures. Let's see, 30 years ago, I drew Scourge the Undying. Here he is with the party, half-giant, minotaur, feral halfling. So I love these characters. And anyway, the table was stunned. We talked about it for years. The night that Scourge died. And That was a great feeling. A nemesis, right? It was cool. And, we were adapting to each other. I could never find this guy. That was the worst thing. Like, he was a ghost, man. Nothing I could do. I could get a beat on him. Anyway, bring it back around to 5th edition, Bilbron Bafflestone. I have been not necessarily invincible, but pretty powerful in my campaign, and not usually pressed too hard. And this battle really turned that around, because we almost ate a TPK, and it featured a guy named Titivolus, who has become my nemesis. So Titivolus is a devil. He's the right-hand man or lieutenant for Dispater, and my party encountered him in the course of our adventures. It's an Underdark campaign. We're escorting an artifact to the surface to try and destroy it, and everybody's trying to get this thing, and Dispater was making a play for this thing through Titivolus. And he offered us a deal, and we thought so we'll think about it, because I actually personally was kind of intrigued by this deal. But in any case, he eventually came back to get an answer, and we said no, and he's like, "You're going to regret it." I was like, yeah, whatever. We were feeling pretty froggy at this point because we'd been killing some pretty big things. And so he disappeared. And it turns out that this cat had been scrying on us the entire time, like total scry, knew everything about us, knew all our powers, all our tactics. And then he set up an ambush for us, featuring 15 Maragons and himself, and a terrain that was to his advantage. Like, he set everything up to his advantage. And man, this battle did not go well for us. It was very close to a TPK, and I almost died. I showed up with my paladin. We split the party up a little bit, and it was 4 of us. 2 of us were kind of hanging back about 120 feet back. My paladin was going to kind of go forward into this area and try and negotiate, talk to people, and I was kind of like his invisible backup. And immediately we saw that there were hostiles, and I was all like, okay, hang on a second, let's let the other guys show up, and then we can, methodically take these guys down. And my paladin was like, "Rah!" and dived straight over, leaping over all this lava and stuff, and immediately attacking this main formation of 9 Maragons, as we found out later. And then there was another formation of 6 of them with crossbows off to the side. The main formation of 9 had halberds. And we were not aware that they had 3 halberd attacks each. And so even though my paladin has an insanely high armor class, when you've got 27 halberd attacks and 6 heavy crossbow attacks coming your way, they might get lucky. They got 2 criticals. And criticals are especially lethal in my campaign. They do max damage on the extra die. So he was instantly killed. Round 1. And I was like, okay. And so I had actually summoned an aberration to kind of support the paladin. And I threw my 10 tiny servants into the battle. And they're made of silver, so they do full damage to devils. And these things only have like 45 hit points or so. So they were able to take 1 down, but it was bad, and the other guys just kind of arrived on the scene, and I kind of, went into this little alcove that I thought was perfect cover, and, I put up a sleet storm to kind of slow these guys down a little bit, and then Titivolus teleports right in front of me. He's this crazy devil dude, and immediately starts cutting me down. I'm the only guy I can see him because I have See Invisible up, and he's invisible. And then he sticks like this fear effect on me, even though I rolled like a 20 on my save. So I'm like running away. And of course, he smacked the crap out of me, doing a ton of damage. And I lost concentration. So yeah, that wasn't good. And then Maragons just started, advancing and cutting down, my party. And I was running away because of this fear effect. And then finally I was able to, or on the second round, I was able to shake off the fear effect, got a good wisdom save. And then I took command of the party. I basically said, all right, guys, I'm taking command. Merritt, stand by for a polymorph. I'm turning you into a giant ape. That means you can use your climb speed to circumvent all of these obstacles on the field. And with a speed of 40, if you use your dash and you interact with object, you can grab our paladin who's dead behind enemy lines and extract her and bring her back to our life cleric, who can then revivify, and I'll have my 10 tiny servants standing by with readied actions to immediately apply potions of healing and get our paladin back into fighting shape and go. And that's what happened. That part of the plan went off without a hitch. And in the meantime, I had kind of retreated down this little 5-foot tunnel that we had come through just to try and get some cover and an environmental position. And Titivolus has legendary actions. So at the end of my light cleric's turn, who I turned into an ape, he teleported in front of me. And then at the end of my life cleric's turn, he hit me with his stupid sword and knocked me to 0 hit points. That was the first time I'd ever really taken damage, let alone get knocked down to 0 hit points. And everyone was dying and getting cut down. And that's where we ended it for the night. And it was a week until we picked up. And in that week, the fact that I had taken command and given orders and turned someone into a giant ape against their will caused a huge amount of drama and tension in my party. And yeah, a lot of back and forth. It was just hugely tense. And I was freaking out because it just seemed to me like we were about to eat a total party kill. But I did have an inkling of a plan, a way that I thought, if it just plays out right, it might be able to flip the battle. And so in the next session, we started over on turns. My familiar went first and I went next. My familiar revived me with a potion of healing. And then because Titivolus had teleported in front of me in this narrow tunnel, I was able to use a spell that I had just added because I had just leveled, I had just added this spell, I had never cast it before, and Titivolus didn't know about it. Stone Shape. And I was able to seal off the tunnel that we were in, and he was on the other side of it behind like 5 foot of stone. And he couldn't get through, and I knew he had a teleport, and I was just praying that it was a site-based teleport because I don't read the monster manual and I don't know what people's stat blocks are. And thank God, yes, it was a site-based teleport. And so that took Titivolus off the field. And then, I was able to get up another sleet storm and slow the Maragons. And, our party was able to regain control. And we didn't die. And the whole time, Titivolus is screaming at us because he's got this, like, ventriloquism thing that he can do. And so he was all, like, super mad and, threatening and yada, yada, yada. And he has plagued us ever since. He's been taking my form and committing all sorts of crimes and ruining my reputation and just causing all sorts of problems anytime we try to do anything. And again, I can't get a beat on this guy. I can't scry him. I'm like seeing invisible all the time. I'm like super paranoid because I'm totally role-playing it. Like I've got nightmares about this guy. And he's been looming large in our campaign and in our lives and in my character's thoughts. And we had round 2 the other day. And it was pretty cool because my party walked right into an ambush. Even though I told them, I'm like, this is an ambush, guys. Anyway, they had a plan. They wanted to try it. It didn't work. And so Titivolus got the drop on us again, threw up a symbol, and, it was backed up by like a dozen drow and like 6 gargoyles. And they got a surprise round on the other guys. And so, that didn't open up too well. But, we're pretty resilient, party strong. We bounced back. And Titivolus, of course, was right in my face and trying to kill me again. Because this is personal between us. Because I was using illusions and stuff in the meantime to, like, humiliate him. Right? Because he's like, I'm like, if you ruin my reputation, I'm ruining your reputation. So I was using disguise self and, crafting illusions to demonstrate to people Titivolus, maybe, in a dress, thanking me for beating him to death with his own sword because it really made him think about his life and, maybe he would, dedicate himself to my god, Bilbron Bafflestone. Really embarrassing stuff because that's how I roll. And it was fun because he was hating me and, really talking a bunch of smack and I was talking smack back. And at one point, one of my party members was like, "This is like a Harvard grad, like cutting down a Yale grad." Had a shield guardian at this point, which certainly helped against Tativolus. Was able to grab him, pull him into obscurement. I'm like, "Yeah, you're all stupid for attacking me close to obscurement with your tight site-based teleport, bitch." But then he had free action somehow. I think he had a ring of free action. So yeah, that didn't work. He slipped right out. But we did like 100 damage to him, and he fled, which means I got more intel on him. It seems like he's only got around like 130-ish, 150-ish hit points. But he did escape, and I know he's going to try again, and he's learning, and he's going to, ambush us with hopefully from his perspective, enough gun. And I'm really loving it because, man, so much of my decision making about leveling, about feats, about spells taken are all with like Tativolus in mind. Oh, I can't take that. Wall of Force? No, that won't work against his site-based teleport. No! Right? Whereas normally Wall of Force is like, as soon as you get 5th level spells, you take it, right? But anyway. Yeah, so he's developing into my Nemesis, and it's pretty sweet. We've had 2 rounds. He definitely, he was beating the crap out of me in the first time. He did get some damage on me on the side. He criticaled on me, but I have a shield guardian, so it absorbed half the damage, so I was all good. Yeah, it could have definitely gone either way, and I like that, right? It feels interesting. My heart was pounding quite a bit more than I do whenever I encounter, oh, it's a demon lord? Okay, well, let's just go to work. Pretty by the numbers for me, but yeah, this Tativolus guy. Don't tell me a stat block if, in the comments if you want to talk about him. I have got some intel on what he can do based on what I've seen, but that's how I like to do it. I don't like to, read up on creatures. I prefer to experience them organically. In any case, thanks so much for listening. Let me know in the comments if you have any cool stories and what you think about this new storytelling series. Regardless, thank you so much for watching. This has been the Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Power Gamers Tactics Room. I'm your host, Bilbron Bafflestone. See you next time.